And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, emergency style. Kind of emergency style. Anyway, we are here today to talk about two things. The Russell Westbrook trade and the NBA draft, who both happened very recently here. And we decided to combine them and drop you an emergency episode so that we could save up on some time and some nights because we're busy people. So first off, Russell Westbrook was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Caldwell Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and a first-round draft pick. And I believe I left this out. 2 second-round draft picks went with Russell Westbrook to the Lakers. So as we have 2 Laker fans in the room, I will go to Uncle Doug and say, what were your initial thoughts when you saw that the Lakers traded for Westbrook and what you sent for him?
Well, I thought the Lakers would make a move for a point guard, but I thought it'd be one that could shoot. But we really didn't give up a lot of shooting to get him. I like Kyle Kuzma, but I kind of feel like he's been on the trading block for a while. KCP, he shoots once in a while. Does play good defense. We'll miss that. Harrell in the draft pick, I wasn't too worried about, but we'll see how he fits. It wasn't the point guard I thought we'd be trading for.
Fair enough. As the other Laker fan in the room, Drew, same question.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the shooting aspect. With when you have LeBron and AD, you kind of need a shooter, not another one-on-one scorer driving to the basket. Because the lane's already going to be filled with those two, you kind of need a shooter, not another one-on-one guy, I think.
Fair. So the other people in the room, no Lakers fans, no Wizards fans, but Wade, Ray, what were your thoughts when you originally saw the trade?
I was just kind of like, LeBron's being LeBron. I mean, it's just, he does what he does. Went out and got another superstar for his team, probably trying to match up with the Nets in the finals. But yeah, it's and then what they've done since then is pretty much all him too. So he's pretty much just running the Lakers, and he wanted him some Westbrook. So.
It does appear that he is making a lot of decisions or has a lot of things to be said about those decisions. Ray, what about you, bud?
I actually got a nice big spiel that I have here written down.
Go for it.
All right. So now is this going to be a good spot for Westbrook? Maybe. Could it be like the James Harden situation in Brooklyn? Possibly. But who the hell knows? But to be totally honest, everyone has been talking about this. I want to watch the Lakers versus the Nets in the finals, and I'm like, I just don't give a fuck about these manufactured championships by teams that have the money to buy players and afford the luxury tax. This year's playoffs for the breath of fresh air of teams that do shit the right way from the ground up and don't cut corners because you have the cash to burn because you think titles matter in this era of basketball, because they don't. In this era of basketball, it just proves that you can spend the most cash, and it shows no skill in your organization. It shows laziness, and I just don't care. Good on the Lakers for putting together this Golden Girls of NBA, but at some point, there has to be an even playing field for all teams. There you go.
Well, I can't say that I didn't find that entertaining, Ray.
You're welcome.
My thoughts were similar to most of your all's. This does appear to be LeBron being LeBron, and it does seem to provide a shooting problem.
Yeah.
You have Russell Westbrook, who's a career 30% shooter from 3. Anthony Davis is a career 31% shooter from 3. And LeBron is a career 34% shooter from 3. And AD has been very vocal over his career that he doesn't like playing the 5 and doesn't want to play it very much. So if that puts Gasol and Dwight on the floor, at least for portions of games, definitely Dwight's not going to shoot.
No.
Gasol does shoot, but he's not a knockdown shooter. So you go get a shooting guard. Like they got Wayne Ellington. They picked up Wayne Ellington in free agency, who is a shooter.
Yeah.
He's not the defender that Caldwell Pope was, but he's a slightly better shooter than Caldwell Pope. That doesn't seem like today's NBA.
I like the younger guys that they picked up better than the older guys. I mean, I'm really happy about Dwight Howard. I never thought they should have let him go. So I was glad he's back.
We kind of just swapped with Philadelphia because Philadelphia picked up Drummond.
So,
which I found very weird, by the way.
Embiid doesn't really like Drummond, I don't think.
Didn't he just talk shit about him on social media a couple months ago?
Yeah. But Malik Monk, they signed. He's starting to play better. Ellington, and then the young guy they got from the Heat.
They got Nunn.
Kendrick Nunn,
yeah. So I'm hoping that those young guys will step up, and they've got an opportunity there.
It appears they went out and signed young guards, and then they went and filled in the forward and center spots from the nursing home.
Right.
Like Carmelo.
And they got Melo. They got Trevor Ariza.
Right.
They got Dwight Howard. They got Marc Gasol. They got LeBron. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but Kent Bazemore.
Yeah.
Like they have the most players over 35 in the NBA, and they only have like 9 players on their team so far. So they could have more.
I think everybody you just named is between 32 and 37 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with most of them being around like the 35 range.
Right. And let's be honest, Trevor Ariza was completely washed 3 years ago. They signed him for the league minimum, so it's not like it was a huge contract. But what are you going to get out of him?
Right.
Shoot corner threes.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked Ariza a lot years ago.
When he was on the Kobe team.
which was a long time ago at this point.
2009 or something.
Yeah, that was 11 years ago.
Kent Bazemore didn't play well when Golden State relied on him last year. So there's that. Melo still has a role in today's NBA. It's very well. I guess my thing is you brought up Kyle Kuzma earlier. I don't think it was a huge deal for them to give up Kyle Kuzma. I think Kyle Kuzma is a better player than he's been since LeBron's got there. Because I don't think he fit well with LeBron. No. And him and LeBron and AD kind of all play the same position. So it was, hard for him to get minutes, hard for him to get space on the floor, so on and so forth. But what's going to be the difference between Kuzma's role and Melo's role?
Right, yeah.
And Kuzma's a much better defender than Melo is. Melo can't move his feet at all. So he's not going to stay in front of anybody. LeBron doesn't play defense anymore. They gave up Kyle. They gave up Alex Caruso, their best guard defender. Monk doesn't play defense at all.
Oh, they're going to go from a top flight defense to no defense or shooting really quickly, and it's going to be.
If this team has a good defensive year, Anthony Davis probably should win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if they're. Right. I'm not saying they're going to be absolutely horrid on defense, but they're not going to be number 1 or 2.
They're not going to be top 3 like they were last year.
Well,
no way.
Davis and Howard better be guarding the rim because there'll be a lot of guys coming to it.
Yeah, it could be.
He'll have the opportunity to get 5 blocks a game or more.
But I will say this. I know I just badmouthed them quite a bit because they're old and they don't seem to be able to play defense, but I don't expect them to be bad. I do think they'll be a top 4 seed in the West probably, and they'll as long as they're healthy, they'll be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they're going to be good. It's a LeBron team, and they do have 3 superstars. But the one good part about getting Westbrook is when LeBron and AD want to load manage and take some time off, Westbrook is all about going balls to the wall in the regular season, and so they can be like, hey, take this game over. Hey, I'm sitting out tonight. Go nuts. Give me a triple-double and win the game. So LeBron can get rest, and Russell can do that.
Or when LeBron and AD go out at the same time during a game, he can stay out there and try and keep it close. And
they'll be super good regular season team, I think. And they'll probably I'm not gonna say they're gonna be like a first round exit or anything like that, but the lack of shooting and the age will play a huge factor in the playoffs. And I mean, we've watched what defenses do to Russell Westbrook, and they can make him very limited in the playoffs at times, especially when he's being stubborn and refusing to not and won't quit shooting the outside shot. It's going to create some real problems in the playoffs when people are taking everything serious and forcing him to shoot.
Well, my other thing is pretty much since Miami, if you don't play smart basketball and you make mistakes on the court, LeBron treats you poorly. Mm-hmm. Very, very poorly. Yeah. Westbrook is a very stupid basketball player. He's good. He's freaky athletic, but he takes very stupid shots. He throws the ball in the stands 3 or 4 times a game. He shoots terrible shots in terrible moments and is always and falls apart at the end of games routinely. How's LeBron going to handle that?
Well,
probably not well.
I mean, if he tries to treat him like he used like Mario Chalmers, I mean, Westbrook's kind of crazy. Westbrook will go at him.
No, yeah, I agree. Westbrook's not going to take it laying down like some other guys do.
Not like
put
J.R.
up with
Smith
LeBron's
did
shit.
in finals.
No. If LeBron tries to like talk down to Russell Westbrook will probably light his ass up. Like, you know. So yeah, I don't know how that'll go.
It's such an interesting fit, and it's very hard for me to see it going really, really well. Like, I can see it going good, but like I can't see them just blowing through the season this year. I feel, and not only that, but Westbrook has had his fair share of the injury bug the last few years. LeBron's gotten hurt 2 of the last 3 years. AD's been hurt off and on his whole career. And like we said, they just signed a whole bunch of guys that are 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. That's not exactly the time of your life where you stay the healthiest.
No, that's what I was saying. When it comes to playoff time, the lack of shooting in that age will come around because those older players are not going to be full of energy and running around or healthy at all, more than likely. And a lot of those older players, they're going to have significant roles on the team. I mean, obviously LeBron and Westbrook. Dwight will be the main center. He'll play a huge role. I mean, then guys like Ellington and Ariza and Melo are all going to have a couple of those guys are going to have to play a lot.
Absolutely.
I don't know which ones, but they're going to have huge roles. And yeah, it'll be tricky.
Like I said earlier, they have a few more roster spots yet to fill. They didn't have a first-round draft pick because they traded it for Westbrook, so they didn't add a young, cheap player, which might have been helpful. But it'll be interesting to see who they fill these last few spots with. If anybody decent will take the league minimum to come over there. I mean, because there's still a few good free agents out there that haven't signed yet. But let's shift gears here and talk about the Washington side of this. Let's start it off with Ray, since he went last on the Lakers side. Ray, what do you think of the Wizards side of this trade?
I think the Wizards got a bingo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, what they get? They got Kuzma. I mean, I'm not a fan of Kuzma. He kind of irritates me, but he is a good player. But besides him, who else did they get?
Montrezl Harrell and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
See, I like Harrell. He used to play with Celtics, right?
No, he was the Clippers, and then before that, Houston.
Yeah. He mainly just got good with the Clippers a couple years ago. Won Sixth Man of the Year.
He was traded to the Clippers in the Chris Paul deal.
Oh.
And then he was good and won Sixth Man of the Year, and then he was a free agent after their implosion in the playoffs and signed with the Lakers.
Okay. Well, I know who Harrell is. He's a good defender. I like his defensive skills. I guess I'm just brainwashed on the teams he's been on, but anyway, and they got like 3 draft picks out of the deal too. So I mean, hello Washington.
All right, fair enough. Wade, what were your thoughts on the Washington side of the deal?
Well, they're still gonna suck. They're Washington, but it really just made me think of what's Bradley Beal gonna do. Are they gonna try and build around Bradley Beal, or does Bradley want to leave? Because Russell Westbrook, it was reported that was talking to Bradley Beal about what his plans were before he requested to leave and go to LA. So obviously he got some sort of indication that Beal was at least considering wanting to leave. And if Beal leaves, that's one of the best shooting guards in the entire league, one of the top tier scorers in the NBA. So if he goes to a contender, that'd be amazing. But the Wizards right now are not not going to be great. The players they got back are good, decent, impactful role players, but if Washington wants to do anything, they need at least one more big-time player to go with Beal to make any sort of real impact, or they need to get rid of Beal and completely start over the rebuilding process.
Alrighty. Drew, thoughts?
Kind of like what Wade said. I don't expect them to make playoffs at all, or even really be close. I don't think they'll be last in the Eastern Conference, but they're not going to be close to 8. I like Kuzma and Harrell and KCP, but they're, like Wade said, they're role players. The Wizards need another superstar, I think.
You don't think Bertans can become a superstar?
No.
I don't. They paid him like one.
Just because they pay him like one doesn't mean he is.
Yeah, I know.
That is correct.
Uncle Doug?
The guys that left the Lakers, a couple of them I liked, but they're not going to make the Wizards great. Now, I did hear right before we came up that they just, part of this deal, they wrapped it into a couple other deals, and they just got Spencer Dinwiddie from the Nets. So that may help them some. See how he comes back. I don't know that Westbrook was the answer for the Wizards anyway. So,
Well, I thought that they got some decent players, like Wade said, impactful role players for Westbrook. I thought they had a nice draft pick in the first round. They drafted the Kispert kid out of Gonzaga, the shooter. Obviously adding shooting is never a bad idea, and especially adding a shooter around a dynamic scorer like Bradley Beal. I think Kuzma and Harrell have the potential to kind of return to pre-LeBron form now that they're playing somewhere else. Not that that's going to make them a contender or any by any means, but I think I could see Washington in the play-in. I don't know that there'll be a playoff team, but I could see Washington in the play-in. But there has been some other teams in the East make some improvements during free agency. I think the Bulls got better. I think the Knicks got better. I can't think off the top of my head if anybody else did, but
The Heat.
Well, the Heat did, yeah. That's true. And I think the Hornets got better. So I think the back end of the Eastern playoff picture improved. So I don't know that there'll be a playoff team because I don't think they improved. Washington, I mean. But they have some interesting pieces. I can't remember his name. Hachimura, the kid they drafted 2 years ago. He had a decent year last year. So with Beal and Dinwiddie, who if he returns to form pre-injury, I really like Dinwiddie. He's a knockdown shooter, good ball handler. If you got Dinwiddie, Beal, Hachimura, and Kuzma, Thomas Bryant, and then you have Bertans and Harrell, that's a good 7-8 man rotation that could be a decent team. Like I said, play-in type, 10-8 or 10-9 seed in the East maybe. But yeah, I don't see them being a very formidable foe. They need to add somebody. So let me ask you this before we move on from that. How does the John Wall trade look now?
Pretty poopy, it really looks like.
Terrible. It lasted a weird short season. That was it.
You don't think getting out from under the $40 million a year is at least worth something?
I mean, it definitely gives you much more flexibility going forward to give you the possibility to build around Beal if that's what he wants to do, if he wants to stay. So, and that's a positive, at least.
Do you think if Wall was still there? I mean, Wall played pretty well last year. He wasn't spectacular, but he played pretty well.
And 6 assists.
Yeah. Do you think if Wall was still there, they would be better than what they were with Westbrook last year?
As long as he stayed healthy.
I'd say yes, just because Westbrook was horrendous for the first half of the year, and the Washington was also horrendous for the first half of the year. So I'd say at least with Wall, if they get off to at least a better start, and then, I mean, it's not like the second half of the season they were doing much better, but they weren't just tearing it up. So I'd say with Wall, they probably would have done decent, maybe a little bit better. I mean, at least, Wall had been there. He had chemistry, knew how to play with a lot of those players, mainly Beal. And it might have been a smoother process.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Do you think we've sufficiently covered the trade?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good to move on to the
All right. Let's move on to the NBA draft, which I'm not going to lie to you guys, and maybe you know this already, but maybe the fans don't, is one of my favorite days of the year. I love the NBA draft. And I'm not really 100% sure why my Orlando Magic seem to get screwed more often than not. We're like, the lottery pisses me off because I just think it's the only way the NBA could get their grubby little fingers in making sure the teams they want get picks. Why can't we do it like the rest of the sports? And if you have the worst record, you get the first pick, and the second worst record gets the second pick. I have no idea, but I love the NBA draft. It gets me pumped up. Maybe it's because my team's in the damn lottery all the time, but but I do love the NBA draft. So I watch it every year. This year, my toddlers were not cooperating, and Daddy got very pissed off. So starting off, the top of the draft, the first 3 picks went like pretty much every mock you saw. Cade Cunningham went number 1 to Detroit, just like we've seen for like 6 months. Cade Cunningham was going to be the number 1 pick.
2 days before the draft, Pistons have already decided they want him.
Yeah.
It was.
And then Jalen Green, the shooting guard, went number 2 to the Rockets, and Evan Mobley went 3 to the Cavs.
Ooh. Can I say one quick thing about that?
Sure.
They draft him, and then they signed Jared Allen, right?
Yes.
To a 5-year, $100 million contract.
Yeah. I thought about that the other day, too. They're just very different players. I wouldn't be surprised, at least for the first year or two, they try and play them together. Because Evan Mobley is so athletic and has a lot of guard skills. He can shoot. So I think being able to play him with a center that can block shots and bang down low might be helpful, especially since Evan Mobley is so stinking skinny.
right.
Like he probably just get beat up down low and maybe get some injuries early on.
Well, and at USC, didn't he also play with his brother? His brother was big, and he played. So he's
never
used
really
to
been
that.
asked to play the true center position.
It's
let's be honest, how many true centers are in the NBA?
right, and let's also be honest. The Cavs aren't going anywhere.
No.
I mean,
they like Mobley, but
yes, I like
they're not
Mobley
going
too.
anywhere.
But I mean, back-to-back seasons, they drafted a point guard. They have Sexton and Garland. They play them together, so they can play 2 point guards and 2 centers and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you got Kevin Love.
Kevin Love.
Cashing his $30 million checks.
That's right.
And then the kind of surprise early on was Scotty Barnes going to Toronto, which I'm not going to lie, I did a huge fist pump when that happened because I knew that meant Jalen Suggs was falling to 5 in my Orlando Magic. So Jalen Suggs went 5. Josh Giddey, the weird player from Australia, went 6 to the Thunder. Jonathan Kuminga to the Warriors. Franz Wagner to the Magic. Davion Mitchell to the Kings. And Zaire Williams to the Pelicans knocks out the first 10 picks. So out of those first 10 picks, guys, did anything stand out to you? Was there anything that was you thought was great, awful, anything like that?
I like the Davion Mitchell to the Kings. I like that pick for them. I think he's.
I'm interested to hear why, because I'm the opposite. I thought it was a stupid pick.
Huh. I don't know. I just kind of liked him. I thought he'd play good. He went to Baylor.
I like Davion Mitchell, but the Kings' two best players are point guards, and then they just drafted an undersized point guard. So I was like, what are they doing with this? Like, you have Fox and you have Halliburton, and now you're taking Mitchell. Like, you're going to play three point guards, and Davion Mitchell's 6 foot even. Like, he's
small.
He's pretty small.
I like him.
Send Fox to the Lakers. That works.
Yeah, I'm sure LeBron would like that. I like Fox. I've been a fan of Fox since college. Sacramento just seems to be, at least at this point, seems to be where careers go to die.
Right. It's kind of a black hole. Just disappear.
So I don't know. But anyway, go ahead, Drew. Why'd you like that pick?
Well, I think he's a good pickup for him if one of the other two don't. I don't know. I think he might be able to compete for one of the jobs with the other two. Not Sexton now. I'm drawing a blank.
Fox and Halliburton.
Fox, yeah. I was thinking of the Cavs with Sexton. Man. Yeah, I think he could be the second point guard. He's playing well. I think he was some other game. One of his first games, he scored like 20. And
he had like 23 the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen that, yeah.
So I think he's a good pickup for them. I liked him.
Anybody else?
I was kind of intrigued by the guy the Warriors picked.
Kuminga?
I thought he has a lot of potential to do a lot of different things on the basketball court, which could definitely help them. But I was also kind of intrigued by it because there's been a lot of speculation about them using some of those draft picks to trade for another really good player, and they didn't because lots of people think me being one of them, they need to really go for it right now while Curry is still in his prime window because he's nearing the end of those prime years. I think he's 33.
I believe 33. Yes.
33 years old. So he is a shooter, which obviously is something that doesn't deteriorate. But it's 33. Your time's getting a little limited. Draymond's already maybe taking a little step back. Clay is starting to get hurt a lot. Obviously, hasn't played in 2 years. So I thought they would use their draft picks to grab maybe like a Bradley Beal I'm not just Bradley Beal, but another big player. But they stuck it out with their draft picks, so I was kind of intrigued by that.
Well, the side of that pick that surprised me was, okay, so last year the veterans and Curry and Draymond seemed to be very frustrated with, now I'm drawing a blank, the center. Wiseman, who was raw, young, 19.
Barely played any, just like a game or two of college.
Right, and he was very raw. Well, Kuminga's even more raw. Kuminga is 18 years old. He played last year in the G League at 17 because he reclassified. He's 18 years old. He has no jump shot. He isn't a great ball handler. Like, he's really, really athletic. That's his calling card. And he's very, very raw. It almost seemed like, maybe I'm just reading too much into this, but it almost seemed like the Warriors were kind of sticking it to those guys and like, quit telling us what to do with our team. We'll run this damn thing how we want, and we'll take these raw players if we want. Because they kept coming out that Draymond and Curry were saying that they didn't want rookies and they didn't want this, and they were like, we're not just going to take rookies. We're going to take super raw guys that aren't going to be ready to play with you for 2 or 3 years. Because they took another one. They took another one in a couple picks because they had 2 of them.
Later on, they took somebody.
They took Moses Moody, who was another raw player out of Arkansas.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was saying though. Like, they need to really go for it right now.
Yeah.
While Curry is still killing it. And you really don't. Do we know if Klay Thompson's even going to be the same player?
Well, I said this when I was talking to a couple guys the other day. Not that they're the same player by any means, but he had the exact same back-to-back injuries that Boogie did, and Boogie's not remotely the same.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
So is Clay, like you said, is Clay now? I think Clay won't be able to shoot? No, Clay will probably be able to shoot, but is he going to be able to be the world class defender he used to be? Is he going to be the guy that is constantly running and moving off these screens and cutting, to get open? Maybe not. Is he relegated to be a spot up shooter, which would change things?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they already this year in big spots struggle to score a lot because if Curry starts to get worn down, or if the team's able to just suffocate Curry because they don't have to pay attention to some other players, they struggle to score. I mean, Draymond's not going to go get you 30 points. You'll be lucky if he gets you fucking 3 sometimes.
Yeah.
Wiggins is I would say streaky. He can score, but there are some good with the bad. And then, like you said, Wiseman, is not there yet. It's just, it's kind of all over the place.
I think Wiseman's gonna be good.
I agree.
Like you said,
Yeah.
he's a couple years away.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid went from high school, played 2 or 3 games for Penny at Memphis, and then had the whole NCAA thing, and then,
I think everyone's high on him.
Yeah.
But the problem is,
it's just time.
they
And
just
like you
need
said,
him
this
to
is
be right
Steph's
now.
time now.
He showed glimpses of it last year. I think they wanted him to do things that he didn't want to do, or that he hadn't done, or wasn't his calling card.
Wasn't comfortable with it yet.
Yeah, essentially they wanted him to be Andrew Bogut, set screens, roll to the rim, and that's your only role on offense. But on defense, we want you to bust your ass and cover for everybody's mistakes and block shots and do all these things. And he was like, I'm a number 1 pick. Like, I want to score and like do things. And like, I remember watching a game early in the season when he was healthy and playing, and he grabbed a rebound and dribbled the length of the floor and like put it behind his back and spun and just dunked all over somebody. And I was like, that's why you drafted him right there.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Not because he was a world-class defender and was relegated to setting screens on offense. Like, not that he should never set screens. That's what big men do, but you're telling me he and Curry can't run the pick and roll in the middle of the floor?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that seems dumb to me that you can't create space for him with Curry's shooting ability. And how many times off a screen of Draymond, because he can't score, do you see Curry get doubled?
Right.
And it's like, well, you can't double this off this 7-footer who's standing at the rim now. If you do, it's a dunk. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt Kerr did a piss poor job of coaching last year. Just a piss poor job of coaching. And then at the end of the season, Curry went on a ridiculous streak, and they won 12 of their last 13 games or something stupid like that, and they snuck into the play-in and all that stuff. And it was like, but this could have been going on all year if you had just played smarter. Like, they acted like Durant and Clay were still there, and they could run the same system, and no matter who was in it, they could just do the same thing. And I'm like, obviously that's not – Wiggins and Oubre are not Durant and Clay, guys. Like, what are we doing?
Oubre not play well at all.
Dude, I watched a couple of those first games the Warriors played. He thought he was Michael Jordan, and he could dunk on every single person on the court. He'd take off from anywhere and try and dunk.
He did have some crazy highlights, though. Yeah. All right. Ray, did you have anything that stood out to you, bud?
Not really. I mean, maybe the Pacers pick at 13, the Chris Duarte trade, or the pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we need another shooter.
Yeah, it's a shooting league, man.
Well, I mean, I didn't understand that one, but then we go down in the second round, and we got us a nice little center, and that made a little bit more sense because we've been shopping around our guy for a while now. Yeah.
Well, you guys have been shopping Turner for 3 years. I don't know if the shopping's ever going to come to fruition. Somebody's going to buy before, I kind of like Turner. I don't know why everybody seemed to be scared away from him, but yeah, that's true. Uncle Doug, anything stand out to you?
Obviously the Pistons couldn't get it wrong with Cunningham, I don't think. I watched him quite a bit in college, and I really liked him, so I think that will help the Pistons a lot.
If they can help him.
Yeah, right. If they can give him some help. And then Mobley at 3 was another kid that I really liked. I watched USC a couple times last year and really liked watching him play. So at the top end, I mean, I definitely think those guys kind of stood out. I thought the Pistons actually did a decent job. And they picked up Garza from Iowa with like their second round pick. And maybe the Pistons will head in the right direction.
We'll see. They've made some really stupid decisions over the last few years. I like their coach. Even though they've gotten rid of Blake Griffin, they still owe him a boatload of money. So that's going to hold them back for a while. I think, what's his name? Grant. Jeremy?
Yeah.
Grant, he had a really good year last year. So I think him, Cunningham, and Sadiq Bey, they have a nice little core, but not a contending core probably, but a nice core to grow and get better. They're all fairly young. I like that too. I had questions. Number one was the Raptors picking Scotty Barnes. Not because I don't like Scotty Barnes per se, but your two of your three best players are your two forwards with OG Anunoby and Siakam.
Yep.
Neither one of them are big enough to play the five. Neither one of them are smaller and quick enough to play guards. So why take another tweener forward, a gun that plays the 3 and the 4? Like now you have three of them that are kind of like very, very similar players. They're all good. They all have skill sets the other ones may not. But Barnes can't shoot. So it's kind of like I don't really know what their plan is. I mean, maybe they're going to trade somebody. I have no idea. But
that's one thing I've heard. Siakam doesn't want to be a part of the Raptors organization anymore. He came out a little while ago and said that.
Well, maybe it's because of this draft pick.
Maybe. I think he's been unhappy for a little while, hasn't he? Yeah, because he got benched for a while.
He played like shit last year.
Yeah, he did not play well at all.
He played like shit last year, and the year before that in the playoffs, completely fell apart. So I don't know. But then my next one was Josh Giddey, the kid out of Australia. Mm-hmm. You take him at 6. The knocks on Giddey are he can't shoot. He's really slow, and he plays guard.
Sounds like a top number 1 pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's supposed to be a really good passer, which I'm like, okay, cool. Your best player is your point guard, but okay. You just gave $180 million to, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I don't know how much this Josh Giddey kid is going to have the ball in his hands, but they're like, well, he's not going to be able to guard anybody in the NBA because he can't move his feet. But he's a really good passer, and I'm like, oh, so maybe he could, I mean, maybe it was me being ridiculous, but I was like, oh, he's white. Obviously, he's going to be a good shooter. No, he can't shoot. He shot like 18% from 3 in Australia last year.
Oh my Lord.
So I'm like, and Sam Presti's a GM that we all gush over in the NBA and talk about how smart he is.
Yeah.
So maybe he's completely outsmarting me in my thought process here, but what are we doing?
He's probably thinking he's got about 20 more picks in the next 2 drafts, so he's fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a fair
He's
assessment.
like, I can miss on 1 or 2 here. I got plenty to pick from.
Because this kid wasn't supposed to go nearly that high, was he?
No, when the Pelicans traded up to, or Memphis traded up to 10, everybody was like, oh, it's because they want the Giddey kid. And I was like, oh, okay, so Giddey's going to go around the 10 area. And then he ends up going 6. And they said Memphis was pissed. Memphis was like, oh, damn, like, we traded up. That was the whole Adams-Valanciunas trade that was for them to move up to 10.
I don't know how I felt about that trade. I don't know.
I think the Pelicans are completely lost and don't know what to do because Zion has already threatened to leave 2 years into his career, and one of which he sat on the bench the whole time because he was hurt.
Yeah.
So I think it's, again, player empowerment's gotten out of control. But I was also surprised that Memphis parted with Valanciunas because Valanciunas was their second best player.
I was like, that's their scorer win. I was watching them in that playing game last year against Spurs, I think, and he just dominated when John Morant. He had like a double, like he had like 30 or 40. I was like,
he averaged like 17 and 12 last year.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. He's expanded his range to the 3-point line. He shot like 55 threes. I mean, he's not shooting a ton of them, but he shot like 55 threes last year. But he's not a good defender. And then you have Zion Williams, who couldn't guard me. Zion Williams is a complete turnstile on defense.
He wants that blockbuster block.
Ingram has played piss poor defensively. They got rid of their best defender in Lonzo Ball. So I'm sitting here going, so now you have Valanciunas, Ingram, and Zion. Nobody's playing defense. And then they just traded for Deontay Graham, who is one of the worst defensive players in the entire NBA because he's like 5'10".
And he'll score, but he's the most inefficient scorer in the whole league.
Yeah, he shot 38% from the field last year. He also shot 38% from three. So riddle me this. But it's one of those things of you just went out and got a whole bunch of guys that not only don't play a lot of defense, they seem to have refused to play defense because they seem to be their big gripe last year that got Van Gundy fired was none of them wanted to play defense. And Van Gundy's a defensive coach. So I think the Pelicans are just completely lost, and Zion's going to force his way out of town in the next year or two. But I don't know what this means going the other direction though either. Does Steven Adams doesn't make you better than he's a better defender than Valanciunas. But now you got to replace your second leading scorer, and that's not Steven Adams.
No.
I think they have a good little thing going though. I think in Memphis. I mean, they got
I like a couple of their players.
Morant,
who's there?
Brooks and Jackson, and now Adams. Like they have a good young little core there they can really go forward with. And like you said, Adams will help defensively. He will help because he's one of the better defensive centers in the NBA. Which I think a lot of times with younger teams like that, defense is usually the last thing that they. That's usually their last thing to fix.
Yeah,
Could not word that to save my life.
Wasn't there another person in that trade that came over with Steven Adams?
I think so, but I'm not sure on who it was.
But they also have what's his name, Anderson, the kid they call Slow Mo.
Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, Kyle Anderson. He's
pretty good.
I like him. Yeah,
I like Brooks a lot too.
Yeah, Brooks made a name for himself in the play and stuff this year.
Brooks is very good. Morant's going to be a superstar.
They also sent Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, Eric Bledsoe came over, so I guess he'll be Morant's backup.
I mean, in the right. I mean, he's not a superstar, but in a very good role player. If you have Bledsoe and
Bulldog on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The Pelicans got rid of another defensive guy.
He just got put in. Bledsoe's been put in some situations where people wanted him to be maybe like a borderline all-star, and it's just not quite there. But if you just expect him to be a good, solid player and play just an important role in your team, he's very good.
I agree with that, Wade. I think if you have a three-man guard rotation with Morant, Bledsoe, and Brooks, I think that's a good rotation for you. I think at the forward spots, if you have Anderson and Jackson, I like both of them. Jackson just needs to stay healthy. He's been really hurt the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But I really, really like Jackson coming out in the draft. I really would liked him. So I guess what I'm saying is I still have some property on Jaren Jackson Jr. Island. And then Steven Adams, who I don't dislike. He's just not what you were getting out of Valanciunas. It's just almost a complete opposite player.
Yeah.
So
all defense, limited offense.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there.
I think the Grizzlies they need one more guy besides Morant to blossom into at least an all-star-ish player for them to continue getting better.
Personally, I think that guy needs to be Jackson.
I think he has the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
But like you said, the injuries have limited him.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're a good all-around team, decent. They have a lot of good players on there. They're just one more big player away, I think.
I agree with that. But at the same time, we tend to take young teams and see them do well and then automatically go, well, now they need to be a contender. You know, if it takes them 2 or 3 more years to get Morant and Jackson ready to contend for championships, I think that's perfectly fine and acceptable.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I think they've made the playoffs a couple years now. So now, in the next couple of years, they just need to advance because they've been knocked out in the first round every year.
Yep, I agree.
So keep improving and win a series and go from there. And Morant's gonna keep getting better. Morant's a beast. If he can stay healthy, he'll be an absolute monster.
That is the one thing that worries me about Morant, because I have visions of like Derrick Rose
Right.
and John Wall
Yep.
and Dwayne Wade in my head, because he's constantly slamming his body into bigs because he's attacking the rim all the time. And being anybody, but especially a small guy, you can only take so much of that before your body starts to break down.
Those knees can only take so much of that crazy explosion back and forth and up and down. Those knees don't last very long.
Yep, I agree with you there too. So to change modes here, I thought a non-lottery team that I was super impressed with their draft, and it surprised the shit out of me because they kept buying and trading in to draft picks. The Nets had a very impressive draft. They came in and grabbed Cameron Thomas at 27, and then they came in and grabbed Day'Ron Sharp at 29. I'm very familiar with Sharp because he played at North Carolina, and I watched a lot of Carolina basketball. He's 6'10", 270, big rebounder, shot blocker, which is what they need.
That's all they need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the big men fall down the draft now because they don't, the league doesn't really necessarily like him. But he's not a big. I mean, he at college at Carolina, he did score a decent amount. He was a back to the basket type scorer. But they're not going to ask him to do that in Brooklyn.
No.
No, they got plenty of scoring.
He led the NCAA in rebounds per minute. He was the leading offensive rebounder in the conference. I think that was a great pickup for them. I think maybe they might ask him to trim up slightly and, hopefully he can move his feet a little bit more. But I think that was a really nice pickup for them. They also re-signed Blake Griffin for the league minimum, so it's not like they had to throw money at him. So I think those two together provide them with a nice 1-2 at the center spot this coming year. Plus the other young kid there was a rookie last year, Claxton.
I liked him.
Yeah, Claxton's going to be really good.
Add a little weight.
Yep, if he puts on some weight, he's going to be a beast. But then Cameron Thomas was a shooter out of LSU. He needs a little bit of work. I mean, that's why he's at 27. But I think he's a nice little guy that in 2 or 3 years, playing behind Harden and Kyrie, he could be a nice player. And they just signed Patty Mills.
Oh, that would be huge.
Yeah,
That's a great pickup.
Yeah.
He's been in huge spots, tons of playoff games and finals games. He's a knockdown shooter. He can be a secondary ball handler if you want him to be. And he plays really hard on defense. He's not a lockdown defender, but he plays really hard on defense.
Did you see the report on Durant? They played, is it Australia?
They're playing Australia today, I thought.
Which one does Patty Mills play for?
Patty Mills plays for Australia.
It is
Yeah.
Australia. I guess he had some play where he kind of like crossed up Durant and then went like drained a jump shot. And then I said, I guess right after the game, Durant called, is it Marks, the GM for the Nets, and told him, he's like, go sign this motherfucker. Something like that. Because he,
who did that with, the Knicks signed Fournier from France after he lit up the U.S. The Knicks signed him. So
the Knicks are in a weird spot where they had to sign a couple guys to get some shooting and offense in there.
Well, here's the thing with the Fournier signing. Fournier's played the last 4 or 5 years in Orlando before he was traded midseason to Boston. Fournier's a nice player. He's not a superstar. But he's a nice player. He's a very good shooter. He's a good pick and roll ball handler. Him and Vooch used to run the pick and roll. They'd be the top 2 scorers on the team. I'm not saying he's going to turn the Knicks around do anything crazy like that. But he is an improvement over what they had. He's and we saw in the playoffs, if they double teamed Randall, nobody else in the whole team could score.
So I'm saying that they were stuck in a situation they had to sign someone.
Yeah. So I think bringing Fournier in makes them better. It and it provides shooting, which they needed. They had a bunch of athletes and not a lot of shooting. But at the same time, you're the Knicks and you're run by a shitty owner. You are probably going to have to slightly overpay to get somebody decent. He's made his last contract. He made 18 a year. So I mean, making 20. He's making 20 a year. It wasn't like it was a huge raise for him or anything. So it was. I didn't mind the signing for the Knicks so much. I think they're better today than they were before the signing.
Oh yeah, I think the Knicks have improved.
And they kept Derrick Rose, who was huge for them.
They kept Rose. They kept Nerlens Noel.
Taj Gibson,
Who
surprisingly played a very large role for them in certain parts of the season.
He did. The one player they let get away was Reggie Bullock, who signed with Dallas, which I thought was a decent pickup for Dallas. So, so anybody else have any thoughts on the rest of the draft? Or thoughts on your favorite team's draft? If you had any draft picks? I mean, I know Ray kind of touched on the Pacers already.
No.
One player that I think is going to be interesting to watch is the Bulls pick, the AO, the point guard out of Illinois. Watched him play a couple times last year. That kid he's got a lot of talent, and the Bulls are quietly pulling together a lot of really young, talented people, and I think the Bulls, somebody to watch.
The Bulls starting lineup is a squad. Their starting lineup is pretty legit at the moment, especially in the East.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Lonzo and Levine as starting backcourt with Kobe White and Caruso off the bench. Then you're looking at
AO. He's a point guard, shooting guard.
Oh yeah.
So.
Forgot about him. And then at the forward spots, they just signed DeRozan, and they have Patrick Williams, who was their high lottery pick last year, and then Vooch at center.
Right. So, I mean, the Bulls, they've got good young players and some depth, and
yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see how good they are. They're gonna be really shitty on defense, but they're gonna be able to outscore guys with Levine and DeRozan and Vooch.
Well, you at least have Lonzo is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, but you just need Levine and DeRozan to just try.
right? Yeah, just try.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're just okay on defense, Lonzo can take the best player, and if they're just okay. And I think that power forward's not bad.
Patrick Williams is a very good defender. Yeah.
Vooch is But so if you have two really good defenders and the other guys
can put out some effort,
or at least just play smart defense.
Right.
Do the right rotations, play your help defense. Just don't be a lazy moron, and they'll probably, I'd say, win 45 to 48 games maybe, and surprise some people in the East probably. I mean, it is the East.
I could see the Bulls being a 6 seed.
Yeah, I see that.
I guess here and think.
Okay, so let's Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee will be the top 3 seeds unless something crazy happens.
Right.
And then you've got Miami, who just got much better. The Hawks, New York, Indiana, I think all have a chance to be good.
Is Philly an automatic top 3 now?
Yeah, when you said
the Hawks just beat them, and Miami just improved. I don't. And Simmons is getting worse.
If he played like he did in that last playoff series, they're not.
And you never know if Embiid will even be healthy in the playoffs. Or throughout half the season.
Fair enough. I mean, maybe they're not top 3, but I think they're better than the Bulls.
Yeah, probably.
I'd say they're better than the Bulls.
Oh, because they can for sure play defense.
And who knows what Boston's going to be.
Last year was weird with Boston.
Jason Tatum.
It was just odd.
I know I'm in the the smaller group here. I'm probably at a big disadvantage there, but I don't think Tatum and Brown are nearly as good as everybody thinks they are, and they definitely don't make anybody that plays with them better.
Oh, we talked about
No,
this
yeah,
before.
we definitely talked about this before.
I think Brown. I really like Brown. Brown. I mean, he just upped his offense to like around 25 a game, and he's a phenomenal defender.
He is a good defender, yeah.
I like him better than Tatum, personally.
If Tatum's going to be so good, then why in the Olympics when Durant goes to the bench? Why is he not taking over these Olympic games?
Yeah, against a bunch of small white guys from Europe.
Yeah, they need a legitimate point guard that can just straight up facilitate and run the team.
But let me ask you this, because I said that earlier about another team before we were off air. How many facilitating point guards are left in the NBA?
Like 3.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And Chris Paul's like 36 years old.
Yeah.
Um,
Like 2.
Ricky Rubio's like 32 or something. Like, there's not very many facilitators left. All these point guards come in and are scorers.
Right.
And the ones that have potential to be a great facilitator, the teams don't let them. Lonzo Ball is a very good passer, very skilled passer, and for parts of the season they let Zion Williamson run the point.
But that's the NBA today. You give your superstar the ball, and they handle the ball in every possession.
But then don't put Lonzo on the floor, because that's just dumb. He's out there to pass and play defense, and yeah, I don't know. That was something that bugged me. They're like, oh, it works so well. It's like, I mean, for stretches it might throw the defense off, but I don't.
I'm not saying don't give your best player the ball in crunch time or in big situations or end of quarters and let them go, or never let them isolate or anything like that. But if we're just down here running offense, I think my best ball handler and passer would be running the offense. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, maybe I am wrong. Maybe Zion should do it. I don't know, but I tend to agree with what Wade was saying, I guess. But my biggest thing is two things. First off, I've been listening to talking heads on TV and podcasts and stuff talk for like 2 weeks now about how Dallas needs to sign a point guard. I'm like, why? They won't let him touch the ball because Luka has the ball in his hands 47 of the 48 minutes a game. So why would you want a point guard to play with them?
Right.
And
What's his role going to be when Luka's got the ball?
Exactly. And
Stand in the corner.
And then you're just putting an undersized defender on the floor.
Right.
If you have a guy like Luka or LeBron or somebody like that who is bigger and handles the ball, just don't play with point guards. Just put wing defenders out on the floor with them so that you can switch everything and you don't have somebody they can pick on.
Wing defenders that can shoot.
Yeah, well, they can shoot 100%.
Yep.
That was the problem with Dallas last year. They had wing defenders. They just couldn't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the problem though. Is I mean, there's a reason LeBron's lost 6 or 7 NBA finals. Luka can't leave the first round. It's teams win championships. Now LeBron does have 4?
4.
Just because he's just dominant, and super teams are eventually going to win. And he's formed like 3 or 4 of them now. But I mean, a lot of times, there's a reason, when they met the Warriors, a lot of times the Warriors beat them pretty handily. Now, they were stacked, but they were a team, and they moved the ball. And it wasn't one player doing everything. That's why the Spurs were dominant for so many years. They were a team and moved the ball. The triangle with the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bulls.
And the Bulls, yes. It wasn't just one player. Now, obviously, Jordan dominated the ball a lot. But when he first, started to win, he had to learn to at least pass the ball in certain situations and when and to make the smart plays at the right moments.
In the 80s, we saw Mike do the LeBron thing, do the James Harden thing. He put up some ridiculous stat lines in the late 80s. Like
led the league in scoring like 9 times.
Yeah,
like
9 times. Yeah, but he had like a 36, 7-7 season or something stupid like that.
Well, he was over 30 points per game pretty much every year.
Yeah.
Easy.
And then Phil Jackson, Tex Winters, whoever it was, finally got through to him and said, hey, bro, you've got to get Scotty and these other guys involved too. And when he started doing he was still going to average 28, maybe 30 points a game and, 5 assists or whatever. But he toned down what he was doing on the court. Let Scotty handle the ball more, let the point guard handle the ball more, and it led to wins instead of just MVPs and no wins.
And it saves the star energy.
Yes. So you can close.
Yes. Harden.
Yeah.
That was Harden's problem in Houston. And in the playoff time, he was ran down. He was tired.
It was LeBron's problem for the longest time, too. We were all sitting there going, man, LeBron can't close. Man, at the end of games, LeBron gives the ball to somebody else. How long did we say that for? 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, we kind of got off on a tangent there. So I guess before we shut this down, anybody have any more thoughts on the draft, Russell Westbrook trade, or even free agency? We've talked quite a bit of free agency during this episode. So does anybody have any more favorite signings, surprise signings, ridiculous overpays, anything like that?
LeBron just tweeted out that all the haters better be quiet 'cause he's going to prove them wrong, basically.
Oh my
On
God.
Twitter, he says, keep all this energy ready when we come and show you guys. Calling us all old and everything.
But you are old. It's not like we're making up lies.
Right. Is he listening to our podcast, Drew?
I don't know, yes. But he says, all the people calling us old, you better keep this energy up when we prove you wrong. I'm like, okay.
Here's my thing.
God.
If they win the championship next year, I'm not going to be like, oh, my God, I can't believe they did that. They do have a lot of talent. They have 3 superstars. But at the same time, I also wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the season they're just decimated by injuries and we're all going, ugh.
Worn out.
Just like this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, their 2 stars were hurt at the end of this year.
I would say, or if there's the same result, as the past few seasons where, Russell Westbrook is just going to start building houses. I mean,
Yeah.
LeBron's team just 2 years ago let him shoot on purpose, and they lost because he couldn't shoot the ball. And he gets in these bad habits of keep shooting, even though he's doing terrible. Like, that's not his specialty. His specialty is getting to the basket and rebounding and passing and hustling and all that. Not shooting three-pointers.
Well, I guess here's my question, okay? You have Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Wayne Ellington, and Russell Westbrook on the floor. Okay? Obviously, you have to put Dwight in the dunker spot. AD is either at the elbow or standing in three-point land. LeBron has the ball. Ellington is somewhere in three-point land, the corner, the wing, somewhere, because he is their shooter. What do you do with Westbrook? Because like Wade said, they'll leave him alone if he's in three-point land, but you can't put him in the dunker spot because Dwight's there.
Right.
Well, I guess one of the reports was LeBron and Russell Westbrook and AD all got together like 2 weeks ago and were planning all this out. And they all came to certain agreements, and one of the agreements was Anthony Davis said he will start playing center much, much more to prevent that or try to help prevent that. But
Which I think is smart, and they end up going to that every year in the playoffs anyway because it's just their best lineup usually. But here's my thing: is this isn't the West of old or the NBA of a couple years ago. To get to the finals right now in the West, you got to go through the Joker. You've got to deal with Gobert.
And
And DeAndre Ayton just had a killer playoffs. So there's more bigs than there used to be, and there's a chance when you get to the finals you're going to deal with either Giannis or Embiid. So you could, fine, play the 5, bud. But are you willing to guard some of these guys? Are you willing to guard the Joker in a 7-game series, or Giannis or Embiid or whoever?
or even in a weirder situation, if they meet Brooklyn, he might guard Durant because Durant plays center for the Nets sometimes now.
That's true.
He can, so that's a whole nother different kind of
Which
problem.
Nobody guards Durant and like shuts him down. I'm not trying to say that, but I think that's a better matchup for AD than Embiid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Embiid was bullying him.
Yeah, Embiid will
Right.
bully him. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When they play Philly, it's going to be Dwight.
Dwight.
Yes.
Yeah, and he will put it on Embiid, I think.
Not when the year they won the championship, so 2 years ago,
Mhm.
when they played Denver, Dwight played big minutes because he was the
Yep.
one guarding the Joker.
Dwight, and
Yep.
when Dwight got tired, JaVale came in.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't Anthony Davis.
right. Because they tried it in game 1, and Joker had a huge game.
Right.
And they like, oh, we can't do this. He's too physical for AD. And they had to start playing Dwight.
And you don't want Anthony Davis exerting most of his energy on defense.
No.
That's
He's
true,
your
too.
Right.
top scorer, really. I mean, he's
So I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers sign another center, kind of like Dwight, so they can rotate in. Because once Dwight goes off the floor, who else is going to guard
they
the
got
big
Marc
center?
Gasol.
They got Marc
They do
Gasol.
have
I
Marc
forgot
Gasol.
about Gasol.
Yeah, they kept him.
who is different than Dwight, but he's super physical.
He's a husky boy, even though he's lost
Yeah.
some weight.
Mm-hmm. He's very physical, and he does provide more spacing than Dwight because he can extend his range out to 3-point land.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the Lakers or anything, but do you think with the addition of Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker and keeping Robinson, can the Heat get through the East?
No.
You don't think they have no chance at all?
I mean, I'm not saying no chance because injuries could play a factor in this. But I'm saying if everybody's healthy in the East, I don't think they come out. I think Brooklyn whoops them, and I think Milwaukee has a chance for sure. And depending on what Philly team's there, they got a chance. But I don't think they match up with Brooklyn. Not that I think anybody really does.
Yeah, I think the Nets are the clear favorite.
I
think the Heat are going to be good.
I think so
but
too.
I don't think they're quite to the Nets.
Where I want so badly is for the Sixers and the Wizards to trade Beal for Simmons. You can throw in a couple other picks or players or whatever, but that would literally be perfect. The Wizards would get a young all-star, superstar, whatever you want to call him, player that they can build around, and he can go to a franchise where he won't be as focused on and humiliated when he doesn't shoot because the whole team sucks.
And they won't be expecting him to win a championship.
Yes. And he can, I don't know if he'll ever shoot at this point, but he can slowly do it without all that pressure. And he's still one of the best defensive players in the league, passers, rebounders, getting to the basket. He's still a great player. He just has this weird mental thing with shooting. But anyway, he can go there, and they have a young player they can rebuild around. Completely just start over the process, and that's a great start. And then you have Beal, who can shoot the hell out of the ball. And you have Beal and Tobias Harris and Embiid and Thibault, and they'd be great.
I agree. As a basketball fan, I would love that. I think
phenomenal.
Beal makes the 76ers better, or at least offensively. They'll take a step back defensively because Beal's not a defender. But I think overall they're better. He would be their lead ball handler. He would be their he or Embiid. They'd be a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Run the pick and roll together.
They'd
play
both
off
be
each other.
averaging 25 to 30 a game.
Exactly. And then, like you said, Simmons would lose a lot of pressure. He wouldn't be on TV every night. He wouldn't be expected to win a championship. But they could build a team. Like right now, they just went out and got some shooters. That's what he needs.
all
He
you
needs
need.
he needs a team like Giannis
He could go
has,
crazy.
where you have 4 shooters and him.
He could run up and down the floor and just drive and dish or drive and score because it'd be wide open for him. And that'd be perfect. And I think if the Sixers got Beal, they would definitely be a real championship contender.
Beal
Because-
and Thibault backcourt. Thibault stick him on the best perimeter player. Beal is the scorer distributor. Like you said, Harris and Embiid. Who are we missing at the other forward spot?
Let's see.
They have another.
Harris, Embiid. Oh
Wow.
my goodness, I'm forgetting.
I'll say I feel like we're missing somebody decent. Like they have another decent player. I feel like. Man, I kind of feel dumb.
I can't think.
Can't think either.
They have Seth Curry as a guard, by the way.
Right.
Maybe the best three-point shooter in the league, to be honest.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
And Danny Green.
Yeah. But
I still think they're better though.
I think they'd be amazing. And they have... You can't play them, obviously, the way you play them now because Beal can shoot. But they have the one X factor that really no one can stop, and that's just Embiid.
Yeah.
Embiid can't be stopped, and that's just pretty much all there is, especially in today's NBA. And I think, like, even if they say they made that and they go to the Eastern Conference Finals and they play the Nets, Embiid's going to get 40 a game.
Well, Giannis did it. Giannis averaged like 36 a game against Brooklyn.
And Thibault could at least take one of those players, at least limit them greatly. They're a great team defense. They can score with Harris, Embiid, and Beal. They'd be a great matchup against the Nets, I believe.
And it makes Harris your third scorer, not your second scorer.
Mm-hmm.
Which Harris is a good player, but he's not the second leading scorer on a championship team.
He's a really good. I mean, he's a legit 20 points per game scorer, night in, night out. And then you have phenomenal shooting with Beal and Curry, and Harris is a good shooter. Embiid's a good shooter for a center. They'd just be phenomenal, I think.
But this same team that we're talking about, the 76ers, has one of the most head-scratching signings of free agency for me, and that is the Andre Drummond signing.
Yeah.
First off, Andre Drummond is one of the best 30 centers in the NBA. I don't think that's a stretch of the imagination for me to say. I would say he's probably top 20, really.
Yeah.
So why he's signing to back up Joel Embiid, who plays like 38 minutes a night, why he's going to be satisfied playing 10 minutes a night for the league minimum is weird to me. But not only that, but Drummond and Embiid have hated each other for like 5 years. I don't really understand the signing from any side of it. The Sixers, Embiid, Drummond, any of it.
I would think of it kind of like this. One, you're guaranteed probably 20 to 25 starts minimum because Embiid ain't going to play.
That's fair.
There's a good chance he might start half the season or maybe more. You don't want that to happen, but with Embiid it might. I'm guessing he wants a championship or to contend for one. So that's probably the main reason. And he's going to start, obviously. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, and against certain matchups, I think he would, because rebounding-wise, we've talked about it, he's an absolute monster. So I think he would get used a lot in certain situations or against certain teams, and I think he'd probably end up with more playing time. You think?
Fair enough, Wade. So talking about the big teams at the top of the East, not that they made any huge moves, but the Bucks brought back Bobby Portis. They gave him a $1 million raise and brought him back. They signed Rodney Hood as a wing player, which they drastically needed another wing. It got really exposed after DiVincenzo got hurt in the playoffs. But DiVincenzo will be back, I guess. Do you think Milwaukee's better today than they were before free agency?
No, not really.
They lost Tucker.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think Tucker was anything, though. I said they should let him walk before free agency started. I was like, let Tucker walk. He's not worth the money. He doesn't do anything except for play hard. I mean, I wasn't overly impressed with him in the playoffs. Everybody was like, look how hard he played Durant. I'm like, yeah, he did. He played Durant really hard while Durant was averaging 40. Like, it
happens a lot against Durant. Tucker was just a big physical body to go bang on people.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Which fits in perfectly in Miami behind you. They're a very, very physical team. Lowry's physical, Butler's physical, Bam's physical. You add Tucker to that. They have a bunch of physical defensive players.
As far as the Bucks go, I mean, I don't think they're by no means worse, but I don't really think they're much better. Rodney Hood might be. I mean, he can provide a little bit off the bench, but he's very streaky. I don't know. I think they're about just the same old team they were.
Okay. So before we wrap this up, because we probably should here soon, this is the way too early predictions. Give me your top 3 seeds in each conference, and then who meets and who wins the championship. Obviously, we can't predict injuries, so, you might pick Brooklyn and then Durant gets hurt in the first game and you're like, oh, shit. But early predictions.
East, Brooklyn, Milwaukee. It's still hard because I don't know what's going to happen with Simmons.
That's true. Simmons. They keep saying Simmons is going to be traded, but he hasn't been yet.
Or like, does a team like Atlanta move up?
Atlanta re-signed Connor Collins.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they re-signed him.
When? Like while we were sitting here?
I
No,
saw
it was
it on my
yesterday.
lunch break.
Oh, did it? Was it?
Yeah,
that
they
early?
signed him. He got quite a bit of money, over
Yeah.
100 mil.
Was it 5 years?
I don't remember the years.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they extended him.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say Atlanta's at 3. I'm gonna say they make a nice push. I'm going Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Atlanta.
I'll go Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Miami. I think Miami's going to step up.
I think I'm agreeing with Doug on this one.
Before I make my picks, yes, you guys are right. John Collins got 5 years, $125 million from Atlanta. There's also been a couple other moves that I didn't see earlier. The Warriors traded Eric Pascal to the Jazz, which I think is a great pickup for the Jazz. The Jazz don't have a power forward better than us, I don't think. So Eric Pascal is a nice piece at the power forward spot that's not a sieve. Oladipo re-signed with the Heat. Kimber Walker is being bought out and is signing with the Knicks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. If he comes back to form, that's pretty legit. That's a legit all-star player.
I think I'm going with Brooklyn, Milwaukee. I think the Heat, yeah. I think the Heat. I see.
Is it just me now?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Brooklyn and Milwaukee. But I'm going to go ahead and go out and stick with my original statement. I'm going to go with Philly. I'm going to go with the three of them.
All right.
Did you say Oladipo stayed with the Heat?
Yes.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, he's still a good player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very.
He's just had a big problem staying healthy the last few years.
I mean, he's a legit all-star player there for a year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Western Conference?
Oh.
Now it gets tricky.
Yeah.
Well, you're dealing with a lot of injuries, new players.
Who's all back?
Yeah, all those
Right.
things in the West. A lot more than the
What's
East.
going on with Kawhi?
Kawhi's out until April.
I mean, he got partial ACL tears, so.
And he's currently a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent right
yeah.
now.
That's true.
He'll probably resign with the Clippers, I think.
Yeah, he will.
He just wants more money.
Which,
That's
here's
why
my,
him and Paul, but they just wanted to restructure their contracts.
Right.
here-
Yeah.
here's my thing. Not that I wouldn't want Kawhi Leonard back, but you want me to give you a raise and let you sit out a season? That
Right.
seems dumb
He'll
to
say
me.
he'll set out till April.
Which is right before the playoffs.
Yeah, like 5 games before the
Right.
playoffs start.
Why not? I mean, that's pretty much what they're doing with every star is doing all that. Butler's doing it. Steph Curry just did it.
No, I'm not saying.
Paul's doing it.
I'm not saying he shouldn't get a raise. Try and get a raise. I'm just saying, like, you want me to give you a raise in the season you're not going to play. You know, you see what I'm saying?
I
Like,
get what you're saying.
it seems like because you have an opt out after next year too. So why not make your $36 million to sit at home and then opt out and be like, I'm healthy now. Now pay me.
Yeah.
I think the big thing for Kawhi was after he got hurt, seeing Paul George actually earn the name playoff P.
Right.
That solidified, I think, him staying in LA. Anyway, top 3 teams.
Did anybody go yet? in the
No.
West? Okay.
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll say Lakers. I have to say the Lakers. Suns. They impressed me this year. And I think Denver.
Ooh, Denver. I don't know. When is Murray supposed to come back? Because he got hurt late.
Yeah,
Like at the very end of the
true.
he
season.
tore his ACL too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was also leaning towards Denver.
I was picking. Yeah, I was gonna say
I was
Denver's
leaning
third.
that way.
Well, I'll go with mine. I'm going to go with Utah. Excuse me. Utah. I will also say the Lakers. And I'm going to go out here. I don't know how big of a limit it is, but I'm going to say Golden State. Because if they are healthy, Curry, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, these young guys,
Wiseman.
I think they can do it.
I'm going Lakers. I think regular season wise, they'll do really well. Regular season wise, So I'll go Lakers. I wish I knew when Murray was going to be back. I'm struggling to think who were the top teams of last
Well,
year.
it was Utah,
Yeah.
Phoenix, the LA's,
Yeah.
Denver,
Mavericks.
Mavericks,
Yeah.
Portland
Portland. Okay, I got you.
was the playoff teams, yeah.
I'm going to go Lakers, Utah, Nuggets. I'm not feeling the Suns as much next year.
Yeah, I left the Suns out too.
Maybe they'll take a little step back.
I'm looking at Murray's page, and I'm not seeing a date.
No, I just tried to find something.
Yeah, it's, I'm guessing he'll be back. Really, to be honest, tearing your ACL is not as big a deal as it used to be by any.
No, I'm not saying he won't be the same player. I just don't know what he's. And usually it's 9 to
Right.
12 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
he did it late in the season.
yeah, it
too.
was like
Yeah.
3 or 4. No, it was like 11 games left in the regular season when he did it. So I mean,
I'd say probably
mid-season,
late
maybe.
February.
Might be back.
Right.
I was gonna say
Maybe All-Star break.
December
Something
or
like that,
January.
I
I don't know.
think I'm gonna go with the Suns, Lakers. I think the Mavericks are gonna figure things out finally.
Mavericks.
Going to
So
Mavericks.
are you calling Porzingis comeback season? Is that what you're calling here?
I was saying he's gonna shoot and figure out how to do it right.
It's all right. I'll run a limb with Atlanta in the East.
Ray, is that you, bud?
Yep. Nuggets, Jazz, and the Suns.
Nuggets, Jazz, Suns. All right. All right, so the next question was who meets in the finals and who wins?
I'm going Brooklyn, Utah.
Ooh, Utah.
Utah finally gets their shit together and makes a big push, and Brooklyn wins. Yeah, Brooklyn wins.
Drew?
I'm going Lakers and Brooklyn. Them like against each other. LeBron against Kyrie, Durant, Westbrook, and then Harden and AD are just kind of there.
Just kind of there, huh?
That will be the storyline that the NBA wants.
Yeah, that's
Oh, absolutely.
They'll want that matchup.
Well, they've already talked about it, them going against each other. And I think the Nets will probably. I think they have a better shooting. I think they have the better ability because I don't think the Lakers will be good at defense. I think the Nets can outscore the Lakers if they try to do a shootout. I think the Nets will get them as long as there's no injuries or anything.
Well,
All right.
With the Nets and
Uncle Doug?
Nets in the East, and I think the Nuggets in the West, and the Nets win it all.
You just took my pick.
Oh,
I thought I was going to be original, and I was going to say Nets Denver, with the Nets winning. I was going to say Joker wins the MVP last year and
Yeah.
carries his team to the finals this year. That was going to be my pick. So,
Yeah, he impressed me.
Ray?
Milwaukee and the Nuggets.
Milwaukee and the Nuggets. All right. And who wins?
Giannis again.
Oh, if
Oh,
Milwaukee,
shoot.
if
Nice.
Giannis goes back to back and has 2 MVPs
defensive player of the
and
year.
defensive player of the
Or if he
year.
gets another one this year, you never know. He might get another award.
Oh yeah, he could do another award. I mean, because to be honest with you, his numbers this year were on the same level as MVP seasons. We just were tired of giving it to him. I mean, not that I thought Jokic
yeah.
deserved it, but
They do that to everybody.
yeah, they do. I'm not saying they're picking on him. I'm just saying like he was still on. He played at an MVP level this year. He
Yep.
he had a great season. All right, so I think that wraps up our now growing rather long a basketball episode here with trades, free agency, draft all rolled into one. We hope you like it, and I believe join us Thursday where we will drop the Bob Pettit episode where Drew will make a case for an old guy he never saw play.
None of us saw him play, but you can buy his jersey.
I might do that. That's pretty cool. And thanks for joining us on Sports the NEMO Way.